Imagine a law that sounds like a good idea, a law designed to protect our democracy from secret foreign money. Now, what if I told you that same law is being turned into a weapon, a tool used not to protect democracy, but to systematically dismantle it from the inside out? This isn't some dystopian movie plot. This is happening right now all over the world. Today, we're diving deep into the foreign agent's dilemma.
So here's our roadmap. First, we're going to look at the very real problem that got this whole ball rolling. Then, we'll talk about the proposed solution, this idea of transparency. After that, we'll see how that idea gets twisted into a weapon. We'll look at the real-world damage, and finally, I'm going to give you a checklist, a toolkit, so you can spot the difference for yourself.
Okay, let's get one thing straight right out of the gate. The threat these laws claim to be fighting, it's 100% real. We're talking about everything from massive disinformation campaigns to straight-up election interference. There are foreign governments actively trying to mess with what we think and how we vote. And yeah, that's a huge problem that any democracy has to take seriously.
And that leads to the million-dollar question, right? How do you actually defend against these hidden influences? How do you make sure that the political messages you're seeing are transparent, that you know who's paying for them? It's a genuinely tough nut to crack.
So this is the solution that gets put on the table. Foreign influence legislation, or FILS. On the surface, the logic is super simple. If you're getting paid by another country to influence politics, you just have to raise your hand and say so, publicly. The stated goal is just transparency, shining a bright light on things so everyone can see what's going on.
And to really get our heads around this, we're using an absolutely fantastic report from the Good Lobby as our guide. They've done the hard work of digging through these laws from all over, creating a framework that lets us see past the confusing legal language and understand what's really going on.
The original model for a lot of these laws is the American one, FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. And get this, it was created way back in the 1930s to counter Nazi propaganda. Its purpose was never to ban speech or punish people. It was simply to inform. If you're a lobbyist for a foreign entity, the American public has a right to know that. The whole idea is built around one word: transparency.
But here is where the story takes a really dark turn. Because that simple, reasonable idea of transparency can be taken, twisted, and rewritten with vague, scary language. And suddenly the goal isn't transparency anymore. The goal is suppression.
This right here is the heart of the whole issue. A law that starts as a shield to protect democracy can be reforged into a sword to attack it. The difference isn't in the name of the law. It's buried in the details, in the definitions, the scope, and the punishments. And that ambiguity, that vagueness, it's not a mistake. It's a feature. It's how they give themselves the power to abuse it.
Just look at this contrast. It's like two different universes. On one side, you have the US FARA, which is laser-focused on specific activities, like lobbying. On the other, you have Russia's law, which targets people. It uses this crazy, undefined idea of being under foreign influence to go after pretty much anyone: journalists, scientists, activists. And for them, it's not just about disclosure. It's about being forced to slap a foreign agent warning label on everything they create, basically branding them as a traitor.
The result on the ground? It's absolutely devastating. In Russia, getting that label isn't just a bureaucratic headache. It's a social death sentence. It tells the public this person is an enemy, a spy. It immediately triggers waves of harassment, it cuts off their funding, and it's been used to systematically silence almost every single independent voice in the country.
So who ends up in the crosshairs of these repressive laws? It's almost always the same group: civil society organizations, CSOs. These are the watchdogs, right? The nonprofits, the investigative journalists, the human rights groups. Their entire job is to keep powerful people in check.
And the pressure is having a massive chilling effect. We've got the numbers to prove it. A recent survey across the entire EU found that a jaw-dropping 2/3, 67%, of these groups say the space for them to do their work is shrinking. Conditions are getting worse. This isn't just a few bad spots, it's a systemic problem.
And listen to how the people on the front lines describe it. This is from a joint letter from groups like Transparency International. They talk about unfounded attacks and a deliberately created atmosphere of unwarranted suspicion. They aren't just fighting bad laws, they're fighting a constant climate of fear and hostility.
So what does that pressure campaign actually look like day to day? Well, it's a war on all fronts. It's nonstop hate campaigns online. It's that feeling you're always being watched by the police. Sometimes it's actual physical violence. It's your funding being yanked out from under you with no explanation, and it's being buried alive in paperwork. Endless audits designed to break you.
Okay,
This all leads to the most critical question. How do we tell the difference? How do we look at one of these new laws and know if it's a genuine attempt to protect democracy, or if it's a Trojan horse for authoritarianism? Well, let's go through a checklist.
The number one rule is you have to ignore the name of the bill and read the fine print. The real purpose of a law is never in its shiny title, it's in the definitions, the penalties, the exemptions. You have to look at how the machine is built to understand what it's designed to do.
So using the good lobby's work, here are 6 killer questions you need to ask. Number 1, is the purpose clear and legitimate like transparency, or is it some vague nonsense like protecting national values? 2, are key terms defined super clearly, or are they so broad you could drive a truck through them? 3, does the law apply to everyone, or does it specifically single out civil society groups? 4, are there common sense exemptions for things like journalism or humanitarian aid? 5, are the penalties proportionate, like a small fine for filing late, or are they insane, like prison time? And finally, number 6, is there a fair, independent way to appeal the decision if you get slapped with this label?
And that leaves us here, with this fundamental paradox. When does the shield you build to protect democracy become the weapon that's used to destroy it? A country has to defend itself from outside threats, absolutely. But the second those weapons get turned inward, against its own people, its own critics, well then the democracy is already under attack, not from the outside, but from within. And that razor's edge is what we all have to watch.